Hi everyone, and welcome to Ruth Reacts to Books. I'm your host, Ruxie Ruth McGouth, and today I'm reacting to Stuart Turton's The Last Murder at the End of the World. I really liked this book. I gave it 4.75 stars, almost a perfect score. So what I'll do is I'll read you the back of the book and I'll tell you what I liked, what I didn't like. I will tell you the food that I have given you a link to a recipe that I assigned to this book, and then I'll tell you about my nails and why I am wearing these for this book. So let's get started. Outside the island, there is nothing. The world was destroyed by a fog that swept the planet, killing anyone it touched. On the island, it is idyllic. 122 villagers and 3 scientists living in peaceful harmony. The villagers are content to fish, farm, and feast, to obey their nightly curfew, to do what they're told by the scientists. Until, to the horror of the islanders, one of their beloved scientists is found brutally stabbed to death. And then they learn that the murder has triggered the lowering of the security system around the island, the only thing that was keeping the fog at bay. If the murder isn't solved within 107 hours, the fog will smother the island and everyone on it. But the security system has also wiped everyone's memories of exactly what happened the night before, which means that someone on the island is a murderer and they don't even know it. All right, well, that didn't give a lot away. So, I really liked this book. What I liked about it is that it really brought a lot to the like this was a real mind bender again. So this had a lot of philosophical thought, which is I have a philosophy degree, so I really like that. And the last book that I read that had the philosophical thought was the War with No Name, and that one was really dreary and very kind of depressing. So I didn't give it as high of a score as this one. This one, like, while it certainly had some sad themes as well, was more like, it was less sad, I feel like, than the other book. Like through the entire thing was pretty depressing. This one, obviously, like, you hear about the idyllic island that they're living on and things like that, and throughout this book, as they mentioned, right, they don't know what happened, and so throughout the book the main characters are piecing together what happened and trying to get the pieces of their memories back so that they can figure out what to do to try to stop the fog from taking over the island. So this book to me was very reminiscent of some of my childhood favorite books, where they're sort of figuring out, like, you've got kind of a story about people who are either survivors of some kind of apocalyptic situation, or like in some of my favorite childhood books, you've got people coming back to Earth who are many generations of humans from before, and they don't really know their history, and they're kind of learning their history through coming back to the Earth way later. So kind of some of those sort of things. There were some themes that were similar to that in this book. They're kind of rebuilding a world and trying to build back better in a way. What I was worried about with this book was whether or not the ending would be good, because for those of you who may have seen Lost, that show was really great until the ending, and then in my humble opinion, the ending kind of ruined the show because it was so weird and it was not a great ending. And I've read other books where the whole book is so great and then the ending was like awful. I felt like he did a great job of ending this in a really good way. So I really liked the ending. I won't say anything about what it is because I don't give spoilers on my show. I think you should go read the book because it was really good. The only thing, like, so I didn't give it 5 stars. I almost did. So, like, I really liked everything about the book almost. The only thing that I didn't like a little bit was, like, the characters were, like, just okay. I wasn't like I loved any of them, like, intensely. You kind of like the main character. They don't really talk about it in the books. I'm not really going to talk a lot about it, but, like, you kind of like the main character because she's quirky and different. And as a person who herself is quirky and different, I like people that are quirky and different because, I want to be liked too. But yeah. So, I mean, it's not like I didn't like the characters, but like, it's not like anyone stood out as like extremely amazing and who I was like totally into. Whereas some books have people like that for me. So, but I really did like the whole book. Highly recommend. I went and added every other book this person wrote to my to read list. So clearly I liked it a lot. So what food did I assign to this book? In the story, they talk about how like the villagers on the island, like they do everything right. They grow all their food, all of this stuff. They work together to make this society work for them. So because it is summer right now and everyone has gardens, I have a garden, and guess what, guys? I have my very first butternut squash that I've ever grown in my life, because before, when I would grow garden, I would make my squash plants and they would grow all these blossoms, and then the blossoms would just die and I would never ever have any actual squash. Well, this year I actually have a beautiful little butternut squash growing. So I have included a butternut squash recipe in honor of the villagers who grow their own food in this book. So we've got a roasted butternut squash recipe from the same blogger who had our nachos from last week. So check that out. And then for my nails, this is called like Royal Crown or something like that. And it's for my subscription box at Colorstreet. So it's not one that can be bought, but it's kind of, you can see it's got all kinds of different colors in it. And why I picked this one out, I was looking for one that was white, kind of to be like the fog, but I didn't have one that was white because I usually don't buy like white ones, and all the ones that I thought were white that I had actually were clear. So that didn't work. But this one worked because I saw all the different colors that were mixed into it. And I did feel like in this book, we kind of got a theme of how, all the different people in the society, they do different things and they put different stuff into making this whole thing work together. And so they all have their different parts that they play. And there was also absolutely like a theme of like bringing the beauty. There's a person in the book that you meet who's, one of the characters is like plays the violin and is writing her own music. And so kind of the beauty of expressing creativity and the fact that, as creative beings, we can bring beauty into places that obviously are not always beautiful, and things that, a place like where there's been an apocalypse and people are not the happiest. And so sometimes things can be tough. But this book was super great, super interesting. If any of you've read it, I know I received this book as a gift from my sister, Becca. So I know she's read it. So I'll definitely be giving her a call so that we can talk through what she thought about it. I want to hear her thoughts on it. And if anyone else has read it, let me know so we can chat as well. So hope you all have a great week. I will talk to you next week when I have another book coming your way. Have a wonderful week. Peace out. Bye.